Mark Twain turned to writing after learning the great lesson of the Comstock. Despite popular notions, silver mining was not an easy way to get rich quick. It was an exhausting and dangerous life. In the mine shafts of the Comstock, many other men were to learn the same tough lesson. Using square sets, the Comstock miners followed veins of silver as deep as they went. In places, they went more than 2,000 feet deep. Deeper below the earth than the Empire State Building rises above it. Digging to such depths meant hard work and danger. Working by candlelight in 8-hour shifts, miners hammered holes in the rock with a sledgehammer and steel drills.
Every time you would hit the steel, you would turn it a little bit, you'd hit it, you would turn it a little bit. I would say you could drill 8 or 10 feet in about 4 hours. You also had the other type of drilling, and that's where they would do what they call double jacking. Now, a double jack was a sledgehammer that weighed 8 pounds. So you had one man swinging the hammer, the other man turning the steel.
After hours of hand drilling, the miners filled the holes with explosives. They lit the fuses and ran for cover. The explosives blew another few yards of Comstock silver ore into rubble.
One thing I can tell you from personal experience, it's a great feeling. It's a great feeling of achievement to be able to say that we put in a round, and that's what they would say, you would put in a round. You would go in and you would drill the holes into the face, and then you would load the holes with dynamite. You would shoot the holes, and you would come back and you would measure how many feet you made that day.
The blasted ore was shoveled into cars, which the miners pushed through the tunnels to the vertical mine shafts. There, the ore was loaded into hoists and hauled to the surface with cables, pulled by horses or mules.
There were men who were very proud of their profession, and they were well paid. They were the highest paid miners in the world here. They were paid $4 a day, which was quite good in the 1860s and 70s. They were proud to be miners, and they were pretty tough guys.
Illustrations of the time portrayed Comstock miners working like busy bees in their tidy underground honeycomb of square sets. But the camera captured the living hell Comstock mining really was. In 1867 in Virginia City, photographer Timothy O'Sullivan took the world's first photographs inside a mine. By then, Comstock miners were already working over 2,000 feet below ground. For every 100 feet they descended into the depths of the lode, the temperature around them rose by 5 degrees. At 2,000 feet, the temperature was 130 degrees. At these purgatorial depths, tools were too hot to handle without gloves. Miners could work only a few minutes of every hour before the heat exhausted them. They rested in special cooling rooms where they drank cold water and sucked ice gathered from nearby mountain peaks. One mine sent down 1.5 tons of ice to its miners, 95 pounds per man every day. Working by candlelight, miners listened fearfully for the sounds of creaking timbers. Even as revolutionary as they were, the square sets could not fully protect them from the Comstock's treacherous soil.
Cave-ins were very common. The ground that they were working in was so unstable that you really didn't know what was going to happen. One of the things that was important to these people as a key indicator, if something was going to go wrong underground, was that there were thousands of mine rats that lived underground. And these rats, if something was going to happen, would start getting nervous and running all around and looking for some place to go. And in many instances, the men would keep on working and not pay any attention to the warning that the rats were giving them. And disaster would follow in many instances.
Draining the tunnels was another serious problem. Mines began flooding at 50 feet underground. As the miners drilled into ancient volcanic rock, they struck springs of water as hot as 170 degrees.
So all kinds of stories about people coming, having bad experiences with that hot water. One I've heard, a man fell in, and even though they pulled him out right away, he was so burned and so boiled that his skin was destroyed, and he didn't live another day.
At the end of their shifts, drenched in sweat and stripped nearly naked, miners were hauled up to surface temperatures that were often freezing. Some fainted and fell to their deaths down the 1,000-foot shafts. Many more died of pneumonia. Despite the difficulties and danger, the Comstock miners dug even deeper in their search for silver ore. But as they dug deeper, the miners faced new obstacles. To build square sets, they needed wood. 80 million board feet of it every year. The Comstock mines used enough lumber to build 27,000 two-bedroom houses today, and in the process stripped the hillsides. More timber would have to be hauled in from California over the rugged Sierra Nevada and the Washoe Mountains. Draining water from the Comstock 750 miles of tunnels required huge pumping machines, which would also have to be hauled in through the mountains. The only means of transportation was wagons pulled by animals, which were incapable of carrying big machines and vast quantities of timber. But for the Comstock lode to survive, miners had to find a way to solve its problem with flooding tunnels and dwindling supplies of timber. The only solution seemed to be to haul in gargantuan pumping engines and vast loads of timber. But in their path lay the almost 8,000-foot-high Washoe mountain range. Craggy and snow-covered, it stood like an insurmountable wall that seemed to doom Virginia City to an early death. Comstock millionaire John McKay lamented, "I don't care anymore if I win or lose, and when you can't enjoy winning at poker, there's no fun left in anything." Silver mining will return on Modern Marvels.